Got it. Got it.
You
All right.
always say that. Say hello.
Huh?
Hello.
Hello. You can do
Welcome,
you can
welcome
do
to
the hellos. You
welcome to Dave's workbook lessons.
you've got a
Thank you for
much
joining
nicer,
us.
appropriate kind of tantrum, You're like I'm
Well,
just like some
You're a great host, Tina.
stubbly old guy. Yeah, you're a great host. You're like the
more
Jimmy Carson.
validation, yay.
Yeah, look out. Here it
She
comes.
polishes up your edges there, Dave.
There's a lot of edges. They'll come around to make one big edge, actually, but
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so workbook lessons. We're doing the 280s. We'll do the whole 10, starting with the preamble for the lessons, which is what is the Holy Spirit?
And that's you. You're going to do that, yeah?
I am the Holy Spirit, and so are you, actually. The
Right
Spirit of
on.
the Spirit of wholeness, right? The Spirit of holiness, if however you want to put that. What is the Holy Spirit? The Holy Spirit mediates between illusions and truth, as he must bridge the gap between reality and dreams. Perception leads to knowledge through the grace that God has given him to be his gift to everyone who turns to him for truth. Across the bridge that he provides, right? And I love that idea of the bridge, right? Beautiful analogy. Across the bridge that he provides are dreams all carried to the truth, to be dispelled before the light of knowledge. There are sights and sounds forever laid. There are sights and sounds forever laid aside. And where they were perceived before, forgiveness has made possible perception's tranquil end. And that's I don't know, for guys that are just starting out doing the workbook and stuff, but these sights and sounds forever laid aside, some of those sights and sounds are horrific. Some of the sights and sounds, I mean, we're talking memories here, they're horrific. And when they're forever laid aside, I have vivid memories. I couldn't tell you of what, because they have been forever laid aside, but there are bits that have been snipped out of my memory association of things, exactly what that's referring to. Forgiveness has made possible perception's tranquil end. The goal the Holy Spirit's teaching sets is just this end of dreams. For sights and sounds must be translated, not transcended, translated from the witnesses of fear to those of love. And when this is entirely accomplished, learning has achieved the only goal it has in truth. For learning, as the Holy Spirit guides it to the outcome he perceives for it, becomes the means to go beyond itself to be replaced by the eternal truth. All right, so forgiveness is just a step to truth. There's Sharon, good morning. Forgiveness is just a step to truth. Course in Miracles is that step, right? And eventually you have to go beyond the Course in Miracles. That's what that's saying. Okay, where learning ends, you have no more need of learning. Boom, next step, right? One of the biggest obstacles, or not really an obstacle, one of the biggest attractions for people is like clinging to their book of salvation as if it's salvation itself, but it's not. It's just a guide, you know. When you get there, you don't need the guide anymore. If you but knew how much your Father yearns to have you recognize your sinlessness, you would not let his voice appeal in vain, nor turn away from his replacement for the fearful images and dreams you made. The Holy Spirit understands the means you made by which you would attain what is forever unobtainable. And if you offer them to him, he will employ the means you made for exile to restore your mind to where it truly is at home. That's cool. I got a new tattoo this week. I have an apprentice. So there's young Barry. I have an apprentice that I've just taken on in my shop, and I let her tattoo my leg, and she wrote the word exile across my knee. It had a bit of a power moment when when we did it, like I wanted it there, but like she did the whole thing. And there it is. And if you offer them to him, he will employ the means you made for exile to restore your mind to where it truly is at home. I'm self-exiling here. It's like fasting, but like in a different place and more food. From knowledge where he has been placed by God, the Holy Spirit calls to you to let forgiveness rest upon your dreams and be restored to sanity and peace of mind. Without forgiveness, will your dreams remain to terrify you? And the memory of all your father's love will not return to signify the end of dreams has come. Right? That's essential line. Ready? Without forgiveness. Tina, listen. Without forgiveness, will your dreams remain to terrify you? And the memory of all your father's love will not return to signify the end of dreams has come. Forgiveness is not of you. Right? Forgiveness is not of me. It doesn't exist within the curriculum of the ego. And if I'm going to get out of this, I've got to take total responsibility for what it is I think I made. Illusion or not. It doesn't do any good to pick up a book and go, oh, it's just an illusion, and flip it off, because there's no healing. Forgiveness has to occur. Right? It's easy to two-step stuff and go, oh, it's just an illusion. Doesn't matter. It's just a dream. Let it go. That's fine. That's a conscious decision to let it go. But the mechanism of letting it go is accepting atonement. I need to accept at one-ment with here. I'm not separate from what I'm trying to let go of. It's not like there's something else out there that's happening to me. I'm happening to me. Yeah. I need to forgive my thoughts about what I think is happening to me so that a change can occur in my mind, which will then automatically at some point transfer to what I think is going on out there in the dream. But what goes on out in the dream is in slow time. Right? It takes a long time when you're born and you have to go through this whole melodrama of growing up and getting to a point where we're having a Zoom meeting here about it now, right? Whereas in my mind, forgiveness, boom, 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 boom. Like that, right? I'm willing to accept atonement for myself. Barry. Good morning. Have you been to the pub?
He's working out his audio.
Oh, he's working.
I think.
Working
Yeah.
audio.
Yeah. He couldn't hear you.
Send him a little message, Tina.
I
Help him out.
I did. I was
Okay.
thinking about that is about what we were talking about prior to the meeting about what's happening at me and my job as you were reading this. And when you just said that,
Good.
because I've been really,
Ready?
when you,
Forget about that.
right on.
Accept gift. It is a call from love to love. Accept your father's gift. It is a call from love to love. That it be but itself. Right? To thyself be true. The Holy Spirit is his gift by which quietness of heaven is restored to God's beloved Son. Would you refuse to take the function of completing God when all he wills is that you be complete? Right? That validation that you're looking for, Tina, it's heavenly. You're looking for God, right? There's a connection. The ego is always going to corrupt the impulse. It's always because it's the ego has this veil across your thinking, right? So sometimes when you look at your own thinking, people have that term mind fog or brain fog or whatever. It's like, oh, I can't deal with it today. I've got a brain fog or something. That's a real thing, right? The ego is consciously attempting to obscure. As soon as you start to look in the right direction, as soon as you start to focus, the ego is like, oh, don't look there, and tries to put this sort of fog, right? So that you don't recognize that validation you're looking for isn't from your colleagues and your workmates, it's from God, right? That's why mind training is so important. You have to really take it on board that, firstly, God is everything, and that whatever I seem to be reflected back here on earth is nothing more than a relationship with God that I have. The ego, of course, is always going to corrupt it, always going to try, right up until the instant before your enlightenment, right? Ego's gonna tell you that there's something out in the world that you need to do or need to be verified through, or some sort of, some kind of thing. And it's not true. You may feel a need for verification out in the world as part and parcel of what it is you're going through as part of your story and script. But remember that the script is already written. You're only looking at something that's already in the past, right? That's where the memory or the recognition and the remembrance of the fact that the dream is already over. I'm here now simply collapsing time. I'm learning to collapse time in my own timeline, in my own association. So I stop traveling in a linear fashion from alpha to omega and start making shifts vertically. Right? I start having these little quantum moments like you had just before, where you realize, hang on a second, I'm not looking for validation out there. I'm looking for validation from God. Right? Now, when that happens, hey, we've got 2 Barrys. That's cool. Barry, what did you buy at the Great Frog?
Now you're muted. We can't hear you now.
I'm
Barry. No,
Barry, you're not talking. There's nothing.
He's got one that he can hear and one that he can hear. No. Now we can't hear you.
No ears. We have ears but cannot hear.
Try that. Hello. Hello.
Oh, now
There we
we
go.
got you. Perfect.
Let's see what you bought at the Great Frog.
Well, I didn't buy anything at the Great Frog.
That's enough. Stop. No.
Okay.
Okay, back to the lessons. Hasn't been to the Great Frog yet. So. All right, so Tina, do you want to start with 281? Before you start reading, take a breath, connect. Right, so our purpose in this, the whole reason that Jesus sent the course back. So here's the thing, right? So there's a whole course community online, and you'll see, once you're aware of it, you'll see this occurring again and again, that tries to transcend the doing of the work with the concepts of the book, right? So you come across comments all the time of people flipping it off, which is me. I like finger on my nose. Look, I've got a red mark. I've had my finger on my nose. People flipping, oh, it's just a dream. We don't have to worry about that. It's just a dream. It's just a dream. And it seems to be this flippant kind of thing. And it's like, that doesn't help you. It doesn't help you to know it's just a dream. There's no point parroting around all these concepts. It's just a dream. It's just a dream. It's like, oh, there's no one out there. There's no one out. All these things that people do. It's this kind of funny little phase that probably everybody goes through it. I know I went through it. But you've got to do the work. You've got to do the actual work of the workbook lessons. That's the whole reason that Jesus sent this back through Helen, is because there's 365 lessons to be done, right? Imagine if Jesus just had his awakening in, Gethsemane, or in what is it? In Nazareth, like all those years ago, recognized and remembered his relationship with his Father in truth, and didn't bother to be about his ministry. Just thought, no, I'll leave those guys fishing, and I'll leave the tax collector collecting taxes. I'll just go back to being a carpenter. It wouldn't happen, right? He had to do the work. He had to be about the ministry, because he had to confront his own denial, which is why you get examples of Jesus in the Bible, and they're so beautiful, where he says, Satan, get away from me, and things like that, like he's making a declaration that it's not of his world, not of his kingdom. And you can see Jesus's own transition as you go through the storyline of his experience, of his 3-year ministry, right? You can see how he's processing stuff, doing the work in himself as he's talking to his disciples, as he's healing lepers and blind people, as he's doing all sorts of stuff, and you get to see he's not just healing a blind guy or healing a leper or any of that stuff. He's healing a relationship with his Father in his own mind. He's looking at the relationship he has with God, and he's seeing that somewhere there's a void. somewhere I'm being asked to heal, which implies a lack, which implies an absence of God, and he's filling in for the absence of God. Right? He's crossing that bridge in his own mind every time he makes a confrontation for healing or to cast out demons or whatever he does. Right? He looks at it as a relationship that he has with his Father. It's not like, oh, I've got this relationship with God and there's a leper over there. The leper's included in his relationship with God, but it's not about the leper. Right? It's about his relationship with God. And that, Tina, is where you've got to stand. You have this inner passion in you, this thing that seems to be now emerging in you or coming up in you that needs validation. Right? Looking for validation or enjoying validation. I don't know what the terms you want to use, but it's validation. We'll just call it that. Right? Now, somewhere in the course, Jesus says God will validate you. And that's the only validation that's valid. You know, you don't need to worry about anything. The world can't tell you who you are. The world cannot validate you. All it will do is try to drag you back down amongst its ranks of bullshit, as if you're somehow a body and a person in a world doomed to die, blah, blah, blah. You're not. You're the spirit, and you've got to learn to live from the spirit, right? When you learn to live from the spirit fully and walk from the spirit, you won't give a shit what the world says about you. You won't care about any of that stuff. Let them say what they want. It's like Jesus. It's like they whipped him and flogged him and put him on a cross. He didn't care. He was up there whistling. Always look on the bright side of life. You know, he already knew the outcome. Jesus already knew the outcome of his entire ministry. He didn't give a concern for what was going on. He wasn't up there going, nailed to the cross, going, Pontius Pilate, I'll get you. I'm coming back and I'm going to get you. There was no vehemence and there was no judgment. There was no condemnation in him at all. In that most crucial of moments, he had a slight moment of doubt in Gethsemane, but he surrendered that even. You know, but he was doing the work constantly. He was totally bridging that relationship or acknowledging that relationship with God in all things on earth. Which is why there's always a better way to respond, react, etc. Right? The ego always speaks first, always sees first, and always judges first. So when I see a situation or I'm in a situation and it involves validation in this case, recognizing, and this is where the mind training is so important, recognizing to step back, right? Oh, let me step back in everything. It takes a lot to learn it, which is why the course has to be overlearned to be learned, but it takes a lot to learn it. Let me step back before I say anything. Let me step back before I think about it. Let me step back and make my connection with spirit. What is it that I'm truly about in this situation? What is my purpose here? My purpose is to be peaceful, to be happy, to be joyous and whatever, and to extend that wherever possible if it's accepted. If it's not accepted, to be unconcerned about it, but to extend it wherever possible into the dream, right, that previously I have denied it to. Right? Previously, I have denied the relationship of my wholeness with the dream, which is symbolically representing my relationship with my Father. So, of course, it's going to show up in the dream because I take my mind with me wherever I go and I'm seeing my own thoughts out there. But my own thoughts out there in the domain of ego are always going to represent ego. And no matter how much forgiveness work I do, that's always going to be the case. The form won't change. My mind will. Right? So I'm always in the recognition of that this relationship with John, Mary, and Joseph, whatever, is really a relationship with God, with the one, with the whole. Let me see it there where it is and allow something else in my mind to occur, not of my own making, to allow me to witness to that. Right? And that's going to take a moment of stillness. It's going to take a moment of not making an excuse for yourself. It's going to take a moment of not trying to avoid whatever guilt you might feel or anything like that. Right? Because that's all part of it. It's going to bring up guilt. right? It's not that it's going to make you feel guilty. It's going to show you where it is that you've got guilt buried below that you don't want to look at, right? That's all we're ever doing. We're releasing a past guilt, a past grievance, a past story about something that's actually already finished and healed in the resurrection. It's like a little kid, you know, it's like, I want a bowl of ice cream, but I don't want to put down my toy. Jesus is offering you the bowl of ice cream, but you got to put down the toy first, and I'm not playing with a toy. You'll try and hide it because it's your new toy. I'm not playing with a toy. I don't have a toy. I can have my toy and my ice cream as well. It's like, no, you can't. You need two hands, one to hold the bowl and one to ice cream. So it's like you have to let go of one thing to be able to embrace the other. Right? So we're giving what that brings up. So your situation, and I'm just going to use it since we're talking about it, your situation of validation, looking for validation, you'll reach a point where you don't care for validation and you don't not care for validation. It doesn't really matter to you, right? You're completely innocent of the idea of it, and you don't even recognize or realize that there's any kind of such thing as that going on in you. But there's a point where you have to address the things that come up. Right? And you'll notice them because they come around again and again and again. It's like you said, like 6 months ago, you did that competition with at work, and now it's turned you into something else. Doing that competition, it hasn't turned you into something else. It's just revealed a part of your nature that you've been either not recognizing is there or trying to avoid it's there because you've been playing at being spiritual. You know, oh, I don't need validation. I'm spiritual. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, everybody goes, oh, there is no world. Nah. And you got to watch out for all that astral kind of stuff. Right? Do the work. We often have these, or not often, but I've seen a few. There's a I can't think of her name. She's freaking awesome. But there's this chick in California, probably about your age, Tina, and she has this parody of herself as a Californian spiritual person. And she's in a taxi. And I'm not picking on you particularly with this, but it's just California, you know. She's in a taxi, and the taxi driver's Indian or something, right? And she's talking about her mung beans and her this and her that and whatever. And the Indian taxi driver, he's like, oh, Shiva, da 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 da. And she's like, Shiva, is that a new kind of health food? You know, and like just there's this whole ditziness to it, you know. So, but that's the stage. I'm not calling you ditzy. Yes, I am. No, just kidding. There's a whole stage. There's a whole stage that you go through where there's this kind of romance with the principles and the concepts and the ideas, but then it's got to get down to the practical stuff. Right? You have to go through that. You have to, oh, I love these ideas of the bridge, and I love how this, and we like to talk about it, and we're very, you know, animated when we talk about it. But when it comes to actually feeling it, whoa, Nelly, whoa, hold up there, you know, because to feel your pain, to feel the necessity to cross that bridge, it's like, there's a bridge, sure, but what's a bridge for? It's to get to the other side of something. Right? How do I get to the other side? It doesn't do me any good to look at the bridge, to talk about the bridge, to know the bridge is there, unless I actually use it. I've got to use the bridge. So using the bridge is simply learning to choose again. In this relationship where I seem to be with my fellow co-workers and whatever, where I see myself craving validation, it's like, that's a good thing. But just recognize that it's validation from God. That's all. It's just a simple little shift in consciousness, a simple little shift in purpose. There's nothing wrong with validation. There's nothing wrong with anything in the world. Absolutely not a thing. But what's the purpose that I give it? If the purpose is separation, then I'm going to get all the backpats from my fellow workers, and, you know, they'll give me a little trophy, worker of the month and all that shit. But if the purpose is the liberation of my mind from the cycles of temporal association, then I need to flip that over and recognize that I'm actually seeking validation from God, and to use that energy of validation or the energy of guilt that might bring up for prayer. Right? Don't waste your pain. Use it for prayer. The prayer of the heart for the healing of the mind that believes it's a body in a world separate, blah, blah, blah. Because you're learning to become miracle minded. You're learning to become revelation ready. Jesus is waiting to show you a whole bunch of shit that's going to blow your mind. But if your mind's not a ready receptacle, if it's not a pure receptacle ready to receive it, all that's going to happen is it's going to fuck you up even more. It's going to supercharge your ego. My ego, I should keep my finger on my nose there. Right? So it's a good thing you see these things. Right? Gold star there. I'll validate you in the process, not for being a good worker. I'll validate you in the process as a sub-validation of God, let's say. Right? So that's a good thing. Flipping it over in your own mind is a better thing. Right? There has to be a better way of living and working in the world, blah, blah, blah. I remember that Bill giving that little talk to Helen. Right? There is always a better way. And even in what I'm telling you, there's a better way. I'm just some kind of dunce that's, you know, this is the remedial class. This is 365 lessons for dummies. And maybe I'm more at the top of the class, but I'm still in the fucking class. I'm the oldest one in the class, maybe. I don't know. All right, read the lesson, Tina. 281, please. Pertinent. Let's get it down.
Lesson 281. I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. Father, your son is perfect. When I think that I am hurt in any way, it is because I have forgotten who I am and that I am as you created me. Your thoughts can only bring me happiness. If ever I am sad or hurt or ill, I have forgotten what you think and put my my little meaningless ideas in place of where your thoughts belong and where they are. I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. The thoughts I think with you can only bless. The thoughts I think with you alone are true. I will not hurt myself today, for I am far beyond all pain. My Father placed me safe in heaven, watching over me, and I would not attack the Son he loves. For what he loves is also mine to love.
Good. Do the next one.
Lesson 282. I will not be afraid of love today.
See, how can you say admit that you are?
What?
How can you say that? I will not be afraid of love today, right? To truly say that, you have to recognize first that you are afraid of love, right? I'm looking for my validation in the wrong place. You know that joke about how come the cowboy had shit on his mustache? Looking for love in all the wrong places.
Never heard that joke.
Never? Really? That's an
A
old,
good one.
it's a bad joke, but you know. Yeah. Go on, keep reading. Yeah.
I will not be afraid of love today.
Good.
If I could realize but this today, salvation would be reached for all the world. This, the decision not to be insane and to accept myself as God Himself, my Father, and my source, created me. This, the determination not to be asleep in dreams of death while truth remains forever living in the joy of love. And this, the choice to recognize the self whom God created as the Son He loves. And who remains my one identity.
Yours says identity.
Or says something else?
It says reality.
Mine says identity.
Are you reading from the blue book, Tina?
I'm reading from the blue book. Are you guys reading from the blue book too?
I've got
White
the
book.
sparkly.
And the sparkly says reality?
Yeah.
Like that. Who remains my one reality.
That's why we ditched the blue book. It's still perfect, but you know.
I can go get my sparkly. All right.
We are sticklers for the truth. It's a funny thing. It's like you want the truth so totally that it comes down to even a single word in a page, you know.
Yeah.
What did he actually say?
But,
All right, go on.
yeah. Father, your name is love, and so is mine. Such is the truth. And can the truth be changed by merely giving it another name? The name of fear is simply a mistake. Let me not be afraid of truth today.
All right. Fran, could you read the next one, please? 83. Oh, and just a little side note, probably should have done this again at the start. Each of these workbook videos we're doing in a block of 10. So if you're doing the workbook at home or following these videos or using them as an aid or whatever, any kind of reference, Just do the one. Don't do 10 like we're doing. Do the one a day and precede it with the preamble for every section.
My true identity abides in you. Father, I made an image of myself, and it is this I call the Son of God. Yet is creation as it always was, for your creation is unchangeable. Let me not worship idols. I am he my Father loves. His holiness remains the light of heaven and the love of God. Is not what is beloved of you secure? Is not the light of heaven infinite? Is not your Son my true identity? When you created everything that is? Now are we one in shared identity with God, our Father, as our only source, as our only source. And everything created, part of us. And so we offer blessing to all things, uniting lovingly with all the world, which our forgiveness has made one with us.
Good. Joanne, would you read the next one? Joe.
That's better, thank you.
It's funny to see your name in your full government name there, Joanne.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't click in my mind. 284.
Lesson 284. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. Now I see what you're doing. Loss is not loss when properly perceived. Pain is impossible. There is no grief with any cause at all, and suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. Such is the truth.
Stop. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. And connect. You've got to connect deeply, not on the superficial level. Otherwise, you'll read this like you're reading a magazine at the airport, waiting for an aeroplane. Take a breath. When you feel some sense of readiness to go on, some sense of appropriateness, go on. Start from the start.
Lesson 284. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt.
Good.
Loss is not lost when properly perceived.
Good.
Pain,
That's better.
impossible. There is no grief with any cause at all, and suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. Such is the truth. At first to be, but said, then repeated many times, and next to be accepted as but partly true, with many reservations. Then to be considered seriously more and more, finally accepted as truth. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. And I would go beyond the words today, go past all reservations and arrive at full acceptance of the truth in them. Father, what you have given cannot hurt, and grief and pain must be impossible. Let me not fail to trust in you today, accepting that the joyous as your gifts, accepting but the joyous as the truth.
Cool. Felt that better, didn't you, second time you read it? It's a good thing. I love that little bit, right? So the bit where he says, and this is just in general, such is the truth. At first to be but said, and then repeated many times, and next to be accepted as but partly true with many reservations, and then to be considered seriously more and more, and finally accepted as the truth. It's a long process of accepting stuff. Oh, there's Bernadette. Hey, Bernadette. You look different. You don't have your mandala radiant thing. Like, lovely. So that little process of such is the truth, right? Such is the truth. And then that semicolon thing. At first to be but said, and then repeated many times. This is the process that we go through with everything, right? When you read this book, right? This is why it has to be overlearned to be learned. When you read this book, if you really can get a grip on what he's saying in that one little passage, at first, at first to be said and then repeated many times, and next to be accepted as but partly true. That's a whole process. You can see how much effort it takes to finally accept the truth in any given particular, even one thought. But we're only looking for one thought to be accepted totally, and you're gone from here. You're out of here. Your enlightenment or your recognition or memory of God, whatever you want to call it, your salvation, is accepted in you when you accept the truth once. It's not like every single thought in your brain, every single thought that seems to be there in your consciousness, you have to accept the truth in relationship to every single one. It's only one. We're just looking for one. One thought accepted wholly is going to put a gap, a split, a break in consciousness so profound that you won't recover from it. Because it's the opposite of everything in consciousness all at once. It's completely unlike anything you've ever experienced before, but yet it's something that you know perfectly well. Right? That's why it's a memory. You know it, you've just forgotten. Right? So when I look in my thinking, I've got a thought. Let's say I'm just going to use Tina's. I'm not picking on you, Tina. I'm just using the thought because it's prevalent here today. When I'm looking at a thought, oh, I need validation. I'm looking for validation from my co-workers or whatever. It's like that thought. So now if I apply this particular passage, right, such is the truth, first to be said, right? So I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. I'm going to say that many times. And each of you has probably caught yourselves doing that. And you're waving a fist and it's like, no, I can elect to change all things that hurt. God damn it. And you get really passionate with yourself and you try to really like drum it in. It's like when you look in the mirror in the bathroom, you're like, I'm fucking going to go in and demand a pay rise today, and you sort of work it out. It's like you're playing it out with yourself in your own thinking, how you want it to go. You know, it's like, this is how I see myself. This is the thing. And I'm going to say this many times. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. But just because you say it doesn't mean you're changing the thoughts that hurt. Just means you're making a decision regarding those thoughts. Right? And then he goes to the next little bit. And then repeated many times. And next, to be accepted as partly true with many reservations. Right? I can't change thoughts that hurt. Maybe Jesus can. He's better than me. There's all these sorts of reservations, you know, or maybe my, my co-workers at work only validate me because they get paid to validate me. We're here to pat each other on the back and make ourselves the best selling mechanism that we can, whatever it is we do. You know, so all the reservations will be there, which is why if it brings up guilt, right? So let's flip it over to my relationship with God. What's my reservation that I have with God? That I'm not God's guiltless son. I feel I'm guilty. How can I therefore be worthy of my, right? So let me look at that as my reservation. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, but am I worthy of living a life without pain? You know, most people believe they can't experience happiness unless they know what sadness is. It's like, what the fuck? Just be happy for no reason at all. You don't need an opposite to know what happiness is. You can just be happy, right? And you tell people that and be like, well, let me look at that. Let me look at that based on my past references of being sad and then finding happiness again, love lost and then love found, all of those temporary, you know, it's like, that's not what he's saying. He's saying you'll have many reservations, but the predominant thinking here is that I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. That's what we're going for, right? The process is many reservations, then to be considered seriously more and more, and finally accepted as the truth, right? Not finally accepting the truth, accept it as the truth, right? As the truth that I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, right? Jesus isn't telling me in this lesson that he's going to give me the truth. He's saying I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. Let me accept that as the truth. Oh yeah, I can. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, but I have to go through this whole dumbass process where I look at myself and look at my thinking before I get to the point where I finally accept that that statement, I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, might actually be the truth, right? It's not even really a relative truth because it's associative with your transformation. Therefore, it's always aligned up. It's always lined up, you know, in a vertical manner. It's like, this is part of my process. But look at what he has. Jesus knows me better than I know myself. This whole little process, I say it many times and then I have reservations. And it's like, how does he know that about me? He knows what a doubting dumbass I am. Here, Dave, put your fingers in the holes, you know, like, if I could just accept that, if I could just, I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. If that was my modus operandi, if that was my, you know, when you're a kid, we have the law of the streets. You don't dob on your mates. You don't talk to the cops, all these sorts of things. And that was, you held that as sacred. That was a thing. You just did not break those rules, right? Now, if I could put, I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt into the same bracket of solidarity that I had with those rules, you know, that would become my modus operandi. I can elect to change this thought and I'm going to. I don't have to go through the whole process of doubt, of reservations, of reading it 1,000 times. You know, it's like somewhere I've just got to realize in my own consciousness how important it is that I accept that statement. Any statement by Jesus, I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. This thought that tells me I'm not worthy. This thought that tells me I have sins. This thought that tells me I'm guilty of something. Horse shit. Who's guilty for a dream? A murderer, a rapist, a pedophile, a bank robber, a soldier who pushes the button on a nuclear bomb and kills millions of innocent people. Like, where does it stop? When do I finally draw a line in the sand and recognize, wait a minute, there's no fucking hope here. It doesn't matter what I do. A judgment is a judgment. Out of 6 billion, 7 billion, 8 billion people on the planet who are all trying to work out what's right and wrong, it's like all of a sudden I'm stepping back from the whole lot and I'm saying, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm out. You guys play that game. I see it doesn't work. If we set this guy free, we're just going to imprison somebody else over there. If we suddenly make a rule for this, then that rule's going to be invalidated. It doesn't work in the world. I've tried it. I've played that game. I'm tired of trying to find some sense of validation, some sense of self that works for me in the world. Right? It's never going to, never. Doesn't matter how much money I've got, how popular I am, how many friends I have, how much influence or power I've got. It still ends up in a 6-foot hole with a pine box. So learning to accept these sorts of things. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. That one line is more meaningful to me than anything the world can offer. Anything. Because that gets me out of here. That gets me out of this dumbass mud ball spinning in space where there's 7 billion people all running around. No one has a fucking clue. But it's like that process of, reservations and saying it again and again. You guys will see that in your own association. You'll see how you keep falling back into things in the world and you want to try and fight for a cause or save the poor people or, find rooms, find accommodation for the homeless and all of that sort of stuff. Like all of those things is like Jesus says, the poor will always be amongst you. Your job now is not to be concerned about the world. Give it up. Right? You've heard the call. You have a whole other thing that is more beneficial to the world actually than if you were to stay within the world and try to fight its battles. Try to seek its validation. You've been called to be ministers of God. However that looks, however you've stumbled into this particular avenue or pathway, it doesn't matter how you're here, you're here. Look at the people in the room. Something within each of you has heard the call or you wouldn't be here. It would be impossible. It's impossible to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Absolutely impossible. Try and be somewhere else right now. You can't. All right, Kevin, can you read 285, please? You're muted, Kev. You need to. I heard
Yeah,
you, but
I guess it helps if I'm unmuted. Although that's to be seen. My holiness shines bright and clear today. Today I wake with joy, expecting but the happy things of God to come to me. I ask but them to come and realise my invitations will be answered by my thoughts, to which they have been sent by me. And I will ask for only joyous things the instant I accept my holiness. For what would be the use of pain to me? What purpose would my suffering fulfill? How would grief and loss avail me if insanity departs from me today and I accept my holiness instead? Father, my holiness is yours. Let me rejoice in it, and through forgiveness be restored to sanity. Your Son is still as you created him. My holiness is part of me and also part of you. And what can alter holiness itself?
good. Sharon, have you got your book there? Can you read the next one? 286. You'll have to unmute the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thank you. The hush of heaven holds my heart today. Father, how still today, how quietly do all things fall into place. fall in place. This is the day that has been chosen as the time in which I come to understand the lesson that there is no need that I do anything. In you is every choice already made. In you has every conflict been resolved. In you is everything I hope to find already given me. Your peace is mine. My heart is quiet and my mind at rest. Your love is heaven and your love is mine. The stillness of today will give us hope that we have found the way and travelled far along it to a wholly certain goal. Today we will not doubt the end which God himself has promised us. We trust in him and in ourself, who still is one with him.
Good. Bernadette, 287.
Lesson 287.
287. You don't have a book?
I have,
Yeah.
but I don't know where we are.
287.
Lesson 287.
Yeah. Are you on a phone or something?
Is the sound weird? No, it's not.
Yeah, it's very faint.
Okay. Is it better?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. You are my goal, my Father. Only you. Where would I go but heaven? What could be a substitute for happiness? What gift could I prefer before the peace of God? What treasure would I seek and find and keep that can compare with identity? And would I rather live with fear than love? You are my goal, my Father. What but you would I desire to have? What way but that which leads to you could I desire to walk? And what except a memory of you could signify to me the end of dreams and a futile substitute for truth? You are my only goal. Your son would be as you created him. What way but this would I expect to recognize myself and be at with my identity?
Do the next one.
Let me not forget my brother's past today.
Stop.
Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. Oh, son of a bitch.
All right. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Feel it.
Let me not forget my brother's past today. This is the thought that leads the way to you and brings me to my goal. I cannot come to you without my brother. And to know my source, I first must recognize what you created one with me. My brother is the one hand. My brother is the hand that leads me on the way to you. His sins are in the past along with mine. And I am safe because the past is gone. Let me not cherish it within my heart, or I will lose the way to the walk to you. My brother is my savior. Let me not attack the savior you have given me, but let me honor him who bears your name, and so remember that he is my own. Forgive me then today, and you will know you have forgiven me if you behold your brother in the light of holiness. He cannot be less holy than can I, and you cannot be holier than he.
Do the next one.
Mhm.
Close your eyes. Go deeper. How much do I want these words to be true? How much do I want to connect? In every effort, in every lesson, it's like, today's the day, now is the moment. I want to remember my father more than anything. I want to experience direct union. I want to have an experience that has nothing to do with me. I read these fucking lessons again and again and again. Do I mean them in my core? Do I hear them in my core, in my heart? Do I truly hear them? Or am I just saying the words on the surface because I'm in a Zoom meeting, reading like everybody else? I've got to own this. I've got to make it passionate for me. This is my salvation. I want to feel this. I want to let it affect me. I want these words to get in and bring me to my knees if necessary. Because that's where change happens. When you truly value something, when you truly give it 100%, it can change. But if you still leave a little bit waiting outside, you know, it's all or nothing. Bernadette?
Yes.
It's all or nothing. You're ready for this. I don't know what you're waiting for. You obviously know.
Don't be scared. I know what I'm waiting for.
Right, exactly. Now face it. Joe, can you shut your bedroom door, please? Because I'm getting feedback. It is shut? Oh. Okay, you're loud. All good. You're scared. Look at me. You're scared. Say it again.
I'm scared.
Close your eyes and say it.
I'm scared.
Now say it internally. You see, there's nothing to fear. What are you scared of in there? If you're really honest, you don't know what the hell you're scared of.
No, I don't know for sure.
Right, exactly. So it's not that you're scared, you're fearful. You have this sense of fear, right? That's a good thing. This is a journey into fear. If you're discovering fear, that means you're taking the journey. That's a good thing, right? But don't let go of Jesus' hand. Stay there. I've told you many times, you're so close to revelation, I can taste it in the air. There's something going on in you that's like, if I had a telephone book, I'd hit you in the side of the head with it. It'd be like, dunk. Just that one little correction is divine telephone book. That fear, that where I'm scared, that fear, that one thing, it's only love that you're afraid of. You can think it's death, but you're not really afraid of death. You love death. Death's fun. Died in a car crash, died from being an alcoholic, died from drowning. You've died many times as an idea of yourself, but not as the truth of yourself. You've never died. But you love death and you fear love. And the only thing you fear to love is yourself unconditionally, which is inclusive of your body. Because God is everything, including the illusion. Into eternity, where all is one, crept a tiny mad idea. The illusion didn't occur in time and space. It occurred in eternity. Never having really occurred at all, but that's the paradox. Yet we find ourselves seemingly in the examination of the paradox, which is what this is. Transformation. I'm looking at it from that side, and now I'm looking at it from Jesus' side. Jesus' side makes more sense, but I've got to learn to let go of looking at it from the other side before I can truly appreciate the way he's explaining it to me. I've got to let go of my brother's past. I've got to let go of everything and live in this moment and acknowledge that I'm fearful of actually loving myself 100% without the need to be verified through the body. Feel it. That place where you're fearful, where you're scared, where you're fearful, all of that stuff, imagine it like a brick wall. You can't do anything about it. You can't walk through the brick wall, but you are entitled to miracles. Okay? And you'll come up against that wall again and again and again. When this Zoom meeting's finished, you'll go on with your day and you'll do whatever, and you'll forget that you're scared. Other things will distract you and keep you entertained out in the world. And then you'll come back up against it again and again. And it's like that earlier lesson we read where it says you'll say these words again and again with some reservation and, and all of that stuff. That's exactly the same process. That's what you'll do. But eventually you're going to get tired of it and you'll be like, fuck that. I'm done with it. I'm going to sit here in my fear. I'm going to draw my circle and I'm going to face whatever this is, whatever this seems to be. And I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to classify it. I'm not going to engage with it. I'm simply going to allow it to come up and be released. Right? Because you have to release. There's no point in having all these concepts and all these lessons if you don't release, if you don't let go. Right? Letting go isn't conceptual. Oh, I'll just let that go. That's not letting go. That's a decision to let go, but it's not the actual action of letting go. The actual action of letting go of fear is when I'm willing to hand it over to the Holy Spirit. And that's a process in my mind, initially a process in my mind until the workbook starts to work in me automatically. But it's a process in my mind where I have to take a moment. Let me just sit here for a second and be still, and through prayer, offer all this to the Holy Spirit. Right? However that looks, sometimes I used to go down the beach and I would draw a circle in the sand, and I'd realize how full of shit I was. I didn't really want to offer it. I was just being spiritual about stuff. I'd draw my circle in the sand, and I would sit there in prayer until my legs went numb and tingly, and I got some kind of weird sense of integrity. You know, I must have some honesty about my prayer, because I'm sitting here, my legs are about to drop off. You know, it's not just lip service that I'm giving. I'm actually, you know, it's like when I wanted to find Jesus, I climbed Mount Warning and I spent the night up on Mount Warning. I knew I had to go because I had all these emerging spiritual themes, and Jesus was at the core of all of them, or the Great Spirit was at the core of all of them, and I had to make sense of it. I couldn't make sense of it in my head. I had to make some kind of effort to make sense of it. I had to be consciously about it. I mean, I'm not saying go climb a mountain, but I did. But whatever it is, it's like, man, I've got to find, you're in touch with that fear. You just said to me, I'm fearful or I'm scared. Right? That's a good thing. Now take it to the next step. Process it, so you can let go of it and face whatever's on the other side, which is only going to be peace. You probably don't want to do that in a Zoom meeting, but there's something, your heart will guide you. There's something that's, I don't want to say appropriate, but there's something that's particular for you. Right? And it'll be in an association with Jesus. Always will be. That fear has to be faced completely, without turning away, without flinching. It's like I tell you guys, you know, like the ghost ride at the show, and you get in the little carriage on the train, and you know it's going to be scary because it's a ghost ride, and you go through the first time with your hands over your eyes, and maybe you peep a little bit, and then you realize it's just rubber skeletons and stuff, everything that you were afraid of and told about and feel from outside and from not going in there. Like, it's horrific, but you realize it's just a rubber skeleton. It's just a sheet over a balloon or whatever. And then the next time you go through, you're like, what? It doesn't bother you at all. You know it. You've done it, right? The idea that you're scared, the idea that you have fear, is only an acknowledgement of the fact that you haven't yet been willing to look at it. And now it's your time to do that, obviously. It's like Tina looking at her idea of validation. It's the same thing. It just shows up in a different form again and again and again and again, until finally you can't run away. I don't know if you're ready to not run away again yet, but you know, the mind will make many avenues of escape and many engagements in the world in the name of spiritual things to try and avoid looking at that one point of fear. Right? But the first step of it is to admit, oh, I'm scared, I'm fearful. All right, now what? Let's face that fear. But you've got to do it with a courageous heart. You've got to do it in faith. You've got to do it because, fuck yeah, I'm doing it. Edmund Hillary climbing Mount Everest. I'm probably going to die, but I'm going to do it anyway. Because he wanted to be the first guy to the top, right? He wanted it that bad. No one had ever done it before. Snow and ice and rocks and almost certain death. But he was going to do it or he was going to die doing it. Right? That mentality, Jesus in his 40 days in the circle in the desert, I'm either going to do it or I'm going to die doing it. That's where you get to, because you don't have a choice. There's a realization, if I don't confront my fears, how am I ever going to be free of them? So it's like, but I have to confront them with that bravado. I have to confront them with that hubris and that sense of adventure and that crusade. You know, it's a crusade. Jesus calls it a crusade. Listen, learn, and do. You'll be guided. You're on the precipice of something. I've told you many times you're on the precipice of something. You're very, very close. And now you need to learn to listen. It's like, all right, how do I deal with this? How do I face this fear? Right? Listen, learn, and then do. You'll be told. In here, listen, not here. Don't listen to me. Right? There's a step you have to take. You probably already know what it is. Right? It's time. Either that or we're going to repeat this again. All right, where are we up to? Next one.
289.
289. Barry, you haven't done one yet, have you? 289.
The past is over. It can touch me not. Unless the past is over in my mind, the real world must escape my sight. But I'm really looking nowhere, seeing but what is not there. How can I then perceive the world forgiveness offers? This the past was made to hide. For this the world can be looked on only now. It has no past. For what can be forgiven but the past? And if it is forgiven, it's gone. Father, let me not look upon a past that is not there. You have offered me your own replacement. In a present world, the past is left untouched and free of sin. Here is the end of guilt. And here am I, made ready for your final step. Shall I demand that you wait longer for your son to find the loveliness you planned to be the end of all his dreams and all his pain?
Read that last line again.
Shall I demand that you wait longer for your son to find the loveliness you planned to be the end of all his dreams and all his pain?
Lesson 290. My present happiness is all I see. Unless I look upon what is not there, my present happiness is all I see. Eyes that begin to open see at last. And I would have Christ's vision come to me this very day. What I perceive without God's own correction for the sight I made is frightening and painful to behold. Zoom meetings. Yet I would not allow my mind to be deceived by the belief the dream I made is real an instant longer. This the day I seek my present happiness and look on nothing else except the thing I seek. With this resolve, I come to you and ask your strength to hold me up today while I but do your will. You cannot fail to hear me, Father. What I ask you have already given. I'm sure that I will see my happiness today. And that's you guys. You guys are my present happiness, not the bodies, not the stories that I give to the bodies or the thoughts I have about the bodies or any of those things, but who you are, what you are with me in truth. I've seen all you guys in the light. I've been outside this universe and seen all of us as one. And I just simply come back here for a minute to declare that, hey, we're all one. None of this is so. Let's get on with our forgiveness and don't worry about what the world tells us. Let's just practice our forgiveness stuff, collapse our timelines individually and therefore collectively or universally, and be about it. It's like we're being called for dinner. Let's get out of the sandpit and go clean up. We're just children. We're just playing in the sandpit. We can hear the call, come on, dinner time, come inside. We can hear it somewhere in our heart. We can hear this calling, this feeling of being called, being drawn. It's like we can't do other than that. When I first started to realize that I had a spiritual path to follow, everything started to represent it. I saw it everywhere and in everything. I would just start meeting people who had a spiritual bearing in life and things would happen. I'd be like, God, I can't avoid this. It's everywhere now. Whereas before I was just the gardener. Just a gardener doing gardening things, planting trees and mowing lawns and pruning bushes and fertilizing and stuff. And then I just started to feel that there must be more to life than this. And everything began to represent it. And it led me all the way to my enlightenment and beyond. And then sent me back here to represent that. Truth is true and nothing else matters. Don't worry about being validated in the world. Don't worry about being fearful of stuff. But use those emotional states, use those situations to your advantage. Learn what to do in those moments. Learn what to be about in those situations. Do this, read this book and overlearn it to learn it. The course has to be overlearned to be learned. I'm not saying as an idea of chapter and verse. I mean, you don't have to learn every word off by heart or anything like that. But the principle of the course is healing. It's like, all right, I want to be able to see that principle active in every relationship that I have, in every situation I find myself in. I'm here to represent peace. I'm here to represent truth, love. And every situation I find myself in is going to show me either, yes, I'm doing that, or no, I'm not doing that. If I'm not doing that, then it's an opportunity. Everything's either love or a call for love. If it's a call for love, it's a call for love in me, because I'm the dreamer of my dream. I'm the only one that tells myself what I think it is I see out there going on. It's like, hang on a minute. What do I see in that person, in this situation, and in that event? It's only my thoughts telling me. How the hell would I know what I'm seeing out there if it wasn't me listening to my own thoughts about it and making those thoughts real? But that's not reality. Reality is eternal and formless and all-encompassing and forever and all of that sort of stuff. It has nothing to do with the images I think I see around me. Even though the images can be quite kind and nice and endearing at times, and at other times they can get their hackles up and cause all sorts of a stink. So it's like, let me be about it. Let me be about hearing. Let me be about listening. I close my eyes. I connect within in every moment. I connect within and I ask, be with me today. Help me today. Help me to see truly in the situations that I'm going to face in my day today as I go about everything that's going on. Let me represent peace and love when I go to the markets later on. Let me represent peace and love, and it's like 99.9% of the time, I'm going to fail at that. I'll get home at the end of the day and realize how much I've been judging everyone and everything. Nothing wrong with that as long as I recognize it. Jesus isn't asking you to be perfect now, but simply to make steps to be about that directive, that direction, that way of seeing. I'm learning, right? I'm learning of my perfection. And the more and more I learn of my perfection, the more I begin to align with it, crossing that healing bridge to the other side, where what I learn of as my perfection and what my perfection actually is, join together and meet. As above, so below, bang, locked in. But I carry this with me every day. I carry this awareness of self with me every day, whether that self is still a bit tarnished or whether it's completely vibrant and nothing can touch me. My purpose is my purpose, just as you guys, your purpose is your purpose. Whether you adhere to it throughout the day or not doesn't really matter, but as long as you're learning to recognize when you don't do that. It's like, oh, today I recognized I was fearful, but I didn't do anything about it. I didn't go to prayer. I didn't fall to my knees in prayer and ask for the healing of that fear. I recognized it and then sort of it got away from me again. Or I saw that need for validation and it got away from me again. And it's like, it's always better if you can catch these things in the moment. If you can stop and be still in the moment, you see it, damn, whoo, because it's raw. Right then, it's raw. If somebody insults you and you feel offended or whatever, you know, that moment, and all of a sudden they'll say something and you'll be like, you're a prick. And you have that little moment of anger. You want to just say something. And it's like, if you can catch it right then before it leaves your lips and use that energy for prayer that you would have blurted out into the world and manifested another world with, it's like, hang on a minute. Whoa. Let me cease from this judgment and realize that I'm judging my holy brother. I'm making an illusion real, and I'll give that to the Holy Spirit. It's not easy to catch in the moment. It takes a lot of mind training. Sometimes you'll succeed, sometimes you won't. Trying to look at it in retrospect is, I mean, that's a good thing, but it's not as effective, I've found, as if you actually catch yourself mid-judgment. That's when the true power of it, because it's raw, you can't avoid it. You feel something. The rest of the time, it's like, I know I felt anger before, Bernadette, or I felt fearful before, or I felt jealousy before, or whatever. And you try to live in the past of that and find it in the past how you felt, but you can only feel it in the present moment. So that's where I ask the Holy Spirit, help me to dig into this. I know it's there. I've seen it. It's buried somewhere in me deep. I want it out. It's like a cancer. I want it out of my body. I want it out of my mind. I want it out of my association entirely. And you sit there with it, draw that circle and let that healing occur. And Tina, if you can post up one of those early videos where we do our circle stuff, Tina will post it up in the whatever we've got that this room links to. So salvation is immediate, and I think we're at the last one there. But yeah, there's the real world. Salvation is immediate. It's not something I'm working towards in the future. It seems to be, because my mind is used to thinking linearly, you know, from beginnings to endings, from my past to whatever might still be yet to occur for me. But my salvation is now. I'm whole and perfect now. Say that to me, Bernadette.
I'm whole and I'm perfect now.
Say it again.
I'm whole and I'm perfect now.
Take a breath and say it again.
I'm whole and I'm perfect now.
Can you feel it? When you say it, do you feel it? Are the words and the connection you have with the words honest?
Not 100%.
Good. That's where the denial is. Right? That place where you just recognize, no, I don't feel those words. That's where the denial is. Offer that to the Holy Spirit. Right? That's the same place as I'm fearful, the same place that I'm scared, because there is only that one moment, that one tiny mad moment of terror. It can take many forms, and it always will. The ego is going to try and glamour it up and make it look like all sorts of different things. But it's like, let me declare that I'm whole and perfect as God created me. The world has nothing to say about that. The world cannot tell me who I am or what I am. I am that perfection. I am God's love ever extending on earth. There's a fundamental acceptance of that in me. I've seen it. I know it. I've remembered it. It's my truth. That doesn't mean that I'm not still flooded up with other shit that's not the truth, or I wouldn't be here. But it means that I'm in the process of consciously looking for that other truth, right? Or that other nonsense. Right? Seek for the darkness, seek for those hidden agendas, look for those things. We're here to seek for our blocks. We're not here to be spiritual and loving and everything. That comes naturally. We don't have to try at that. That just flows from us when we remove the blocks. I can't be a better person. I can't be a better version of myself. I can't become more rightful or more, all I can do is remove those blocks. I've got to find the blocks to love's awareness within me and have them healed miraculously. And the opportunities to find those blocks is going to show up in my day-to-day stuff. I'm fearful. You may be slightly unsettled about discovering that you're fearful, but to me, that's a joyous and a really good thing. It's healthy. Right? It's a really good point. You may have some trepidation about facing that fear because it's terrifying. And I know it's terrifying. I've been there and done it. But because I've been there and done it, I know you can also be there and done it. And have at some point, because this is all done. This is a dream that's over, and we're simply looking at it through a mechanism now of forgiveness, where we learn how to collapse the time between my conceptual understanding that it's over and my experiential understanding that it's over comes together. All right? So my false self and my true self meet each other, cancelling the other one out. But we seem to play it out through the mechanism of the false self. And that's fine, as long as you remember that it's just the playing out of it and not the reality of it. Otherwise, you'll get caught up in the falsity and find yourself like that. Poor me. Poor me. Why is this happening to me? How the fuck did I get involved in this? You have to do it at some point in one incarnation or another. This is the incarnation you chose to do it in. Right? And I'm talking about the false you. The false you makes the choice. Right? You can't make the choice in reality, because in reality, this never happened at all. So I'm making the choice in the falsity of my association to accept atonement and deferring that choice to Jesus or to the Holy Spirit, because I don't even know what that is. I have no clue what forgiveness is. It's not part of the ego's thought system. The ego's thought system is eye for an eye. You do something to me, then, cause and effect. You're going to get the result of it. Whereas Jesus says, no, just let it go. Don't try to make a point in a place that has no reality whatsoever. Just keep going, keep moving. You're on a journey of the soul. You're in the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going. Stop pulling up to fight with the shadows. Right? Acknowledge them, accept them. Yep, that's my shadow. Let it go, move on, keep going. But the letting it go is the process. The letting it go is that act of accepting forgiveness for yourself for thinking the shadow was anything in the first place. That it had some kind of power over you. God walks with you everywhere you go. Nothing in this world has power over you. Whether you're rotting away in jail like John the Baptist, or whether you're sitting on a throne like whoever sits on the throne these days. Nothing in the world has power over you unless you give it the power to do so. Barry, did you get to the pub?
In London, the London conversation. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes.
No, I didn't get to London. I had a bit of resistance from my family here. I was keen to go, but so I will go, but it didn't happen that week.
So recognize where the resistance really was.
Hmm.
There is no family. Where is the resistance?
Hmm.
You had resistance to the idea and projected it out onto your family, which presented the idea back to you so you could present it to me fit and not be feeling guilty about it on your own terms. All I'm telling you is you're not guilty about it anyway, but why would you want to do that? All you're doing is saying yes to Jesus unconditionally, just once. Jesus is saying, give up the world and follow me. And that looks like in your particular drama, go to the pub and have a beer with your boys and do the next thing. You had a resistance to that. Not your family. There is no one out there. You're the dreamer of your dream. Your family is symbolic of your own thoughts about yourself that you want to deny. I don't want to give up the world and follow Jesus. I don't want to just say yes and have my yes mean everything. And that's a good thing when you can see it. Because I'm always looking at what a liar I am. I'm always looking at how much denial I've got. Otherwise, I'd simply see the truth.
Mm. Mm.
Right? But try to look at it that way, Barry. Try to see it that way, that the world is a symbolic representation of my own thoughts about it. Right? Not so you can feel guilty for it, but so you can take control again.
Mm.
It's like, holy shit, look what I'm doing here. I'm projecting my resistance outward and I'm getting a story back, which I believe in and buy into. And rather than stand by the love of God and just say, this is how it is, right? Imagine if Moses had said, sorry, Lord, my family's a bit resistant to that idea of freeing the slaves, and I'll get around to it another time. It's like Moses wouldn't have let anything stop him because he recognized that God was the voice speaking to him. What are you going to do? Deny God again in your denial? Now, if you can see the same thing, it's like when I said I'm going to give you an assignment. If you truly could see what that assignment represented, it's not about going to London, going to the pub with your boys. It's not about buying yourself something nice.
Mm.
None of that stuff. It's about getting to see where you're at in your own mind with the particular thing that's going on. It's either yes or no, in or out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right, good. Now you
It's
need a
like,
miracle.
yeah. I like the lessons this evening, the one about, it's about, your brother, or seeing it in the forgiveness of your brother, because that was so crucial to me. Like yesterday in particular, just giving up anything being about me and just seeing it. Everyone was in this with me. Kind of taught me that lesson. I don't know. Was it 288? It was a couple back from where we got to in the end. And it was
All right, so hang on. Let me give you this then, right? You just said just about you and that everyone was in this with you, right?
Yeah.
Now, put your finger on your nose and make it just about you. Put your finger there.
Yeah.
This is about me. When it's about me, everyone else that's with me is included in that. Cannot not be, because I'm the dreamer of my dream. I'm taking responsibility for what I see. Right? The idea that everyone and everything else is in it with me, that's true, but it's only when my own finger is here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how am I going to, I've got to run around and ask everyone to forgive me for their shitty life? that I've projected onto them. If I see suffering and pain and anxiety and resistance in others, then it's like, that's my projection. When am I going to allow myself just to see the love of God? Just to see the perfection of the being that they are? I'm never going to be able to explain that to them, because like, this is my salvation. This is my Zoom meeting, my time for learning, not theirs. And the only way I can explain it is by allowing myself to hear it, by keeping my finger here. Right. Now, I'm going to give it to you one more time. And I want you to see the difference. Okay? And you won't see the difference immediately. You'll see the difference when this Zoom meeting stops. When this Zoom meeting stops, I don't know what time it is there, but whatever. Grab your boys, go to London, have a beer in the pub. Go to the Great Frog and buy yourself something. Right? In that, watch your resistance. Pay close attention to it, because you are going to resist. Because I'm telling you now, there is no justification for projecting onto your family your own resistance to the love of God. Tina knows exactly what I'm talking about. When I said to you, go and buy yourself something, and Tina's like, don't chintz on it, Barry. She knows what I mean. This is the love of God. This will be a crucial thing for you. I know it. It's a totally given thing, right? And you'll see the difference. I'm the dreamer of my dream. I'm standing up, right? I'm in control. You make the declaration, and then whatever happens, happens. And you have to be prepared for it all to fall apart. You have to be prepared for it all to just go. Imagine if Moses had said, come on, we're out of here, and nobody followed him. Wouldn't be much of a Bible story, right? But he had, at some point, he had to stand up and say, I'm hearing God speak to me, and this is what we have to do. Right? At some point, he had to say that. He had to tell his people. He had to make them hear. He had to make them understand. Burning bush, 10 commandments, whatever the hell, it didn't really matter. That's just how it manifested. So Barry has the same opportunity. And it looks like a fun day out. Barry giving himself fun, having some Barry time. That's in the falsity of the image. But that's where it plays out. You have to deal with it in the form. You can't deal with it out of the form in your eternal or in your spiritual ideas of yourself, because you don't even know what that is. You got to deal with it on a very basic ground level where you can look at it and see that you're getting the results of your own thinking. Right? I'm done with projecting. I'm done with projecting my guilt out there or my resistance out there. It's all the same thing, and having it presented back at me. I'm learning to see everything as a reflection of my own thinking, not me and someone else, my own thinking. And that's going to be painful for a second if you're not in the mindset of how useful it actually is. There'll be that temptation to want to wander down that guilty path. But remember, you're not guilty. You're a child of God. So help me see this truly. Help me to see this truly. Right? That'll be the prayer. I want to see this situation truly. It's like Moses. Moses would have gone to Mrs. Moses and said, hey, I'm hearing a voice. And she would have said, you're drinking too much. Too much of that Egyptian mead or whatever the hell they have in Egypt. And he would have had to push the fact, no, I'm hearing a voice, like a big voice. And she'd have been like, what the hell are you talking about? What? Did you bump your head? Right? All of that is going to be Moses' own denial. Moses' own denial of the necessity that he seems to think that he has to be validated for hearing a voice by somebody outside of himself, called his wife or kids or whatever, right? You don't need that validation. Your validation comes in simply saying yes, and then letting the rest of it be miraculous. Does that make sense? I know Bernadette's hearing that. She's on board. Right, exactly. Fran's hearing that. I say yes to Jesus, and then whatever transpires from that yes is perfect. It's either going to show me my own love or my own lack of love. When Jesus says, give up the world and follow me, am I the guy that says, well, yes, Jesus, but let me go and sell my goods in the marketplace first? Or am I the guy that says, yes, Jesus, I'm strapping on my sandals? You know, because there's always going to be an excuse. There's always going to be a moment where, oh, well, what are you going to do? You're going to tell that to Jesus? And I'm not saying that, Barry, so that you can feel guilty about it, but so you can laugh about it. It's like we're learning to laugh at how like, it's like, damn, I'm being offered the kingdom of heaven and I'm umming and ahhing about it. It's a funny thing. I'm learning to laugh at myself. It's like, oh my God, Jesus is knocking on my door literally, and here's me thinking about the offer. And to verify that my thoughts are valid, I'll project it out there and I'll get the results of that projection come back at me. Oh yeah, well, I couldn't go because... Sorry, slaves, you'll just have to pitch this one out for another 100 years and then somebody else, come along and finish that pyramid while we're at it, will you?
Isn't the thing that we give up our vigilance, Dave? Like you said, was it last week or the week before? Vigilance is the price of peace.
Right.
Somehow we put down our vigilance or give up our vigilance.
That's why this Zoom meeting, Barry, mind training.
Yeah.
We're training again and again and again. We're training ourselves. I'm perfect. Fuck the world. Right? FTW. Fuck the world. Right? Jesus says in the Bible, unless you hate the world, you cannot follow me. Right? You got to be done. You got to look at the world and see that everything here ends in death. What the hell do I want here? I've been here 1,000,000 years. I've been here 1 billion years. I've done it all. I've been rich. I've been poor. I've been famous. I've been all of this. Right? I'm done with all that crap. I just want peace that comes from God as a recognized source and experience, like within me. I want that from within, not because I'm in a church group where we're all joining in some idea, or in a Zoom meeting where we're all joining together in some idea, but because it's actually active in me. But it's not going to be active in me if I keep watering it down, if I keep letting myself off the hook. I can't let myself off the hook anymore, because why? It just repeats the cycle. I'm done with repeating the cycle. And if the cycle repeats, obviously I'm not done with repeating the cycle, because I'm never a victim. I'm manifesting and getting the results of my manifestation. Right? I don't want to go and have a beer with my boys. I don't want to go to the Big Frog and buy myself something. Fuck that. I don't want to do that. I want to stay in this limited idea of myself being miserable and having to attend Zoom meetings to try and address my misery. That's not how it's ever going to work. Listen, learn, and do. There is a doing component to everything. When Jesus says, give up the world and follow me, knocking on your door 2,000 years ago, he means it. He's not going to stand there at your door like the Jehovah's Witnesses preaching. He's off. If you want to hear what he's got to say, you got to get up off your ass and follow him across the hills of Galilee, around the basin there, around the Holy See. He's too busy. Time is short. You either want it or you don't. And that's where I'm always looking at it in my own mind, in whatever's offered. This is an opportunity. This is a symbolic representation being presented to me. See, Kev, being represented to me, where I get to make a choice again. Am I saying yes to this, or am I going to exclude this from what I see as my relationship with my Father and put it on the side somewhere as if that's not it, because I'm supposed to be doing my lesson, or supposed to be in a course meeting, or supposed to be doing something. Climb the mountain, Barry. climb the mountain, cross the sea, do what it takes. It's like all of these things. For each of us, there is an individual action, an individual doing that is going to put us right in the hot seat. And that's where you want to be. Otherwise, you're going to spend the rest of your life sitting on your couch listening to me. I don't want that. I've got nothing to say. Get out there and be the man. You know, like keep your finger on your nose. It's like, hang on a minute. I don't give a fuck what's going on here. I'm getting out of Egypt. I'm taking all you bastards with me, whether you want to go or not. It's like if Muhammad won't come to the mountain, bring the mountain to Muhammad. The mountain will come to Muhammad. Exactly the same scenario is going to eventuate, Barry. I'm either going to say yes in my entirety to that yes and allow myself to be responsible for the results of that yes, which is, oh, my family, whatever, right? And own that, or it's going to come around again. That's your choice. I either want to say yes to it now, or it's going to come around again to be presented again. And I've presented it to you again. This time you're going to see it differently. This time you've got to come to my place and pick me up, and then we all go to London and have a beer in the pub. No, just kidding. But I'll be there in spirit. Try to see it that way. Try to see everything. This, like all you guys, try to see everything that occurs throughout the day as representing something. I can't tell you what the something is. Representing something specific in the journey of your soul. Everything. Because there is always another way to see things. There's always another way to look at it. What's really being asked of me here? This person that's talking to me, what are they saying between the lines? What are they really asking from the heart? It's always going to be for me, because God's will is perfect. It's always a gift to me. Right? If it's a gift to me, it's a gift therefore to my world. As I heal, then the projections that I'm putting out there into the world become more extensions of love rather than projections of fear. I get the results of that coming back to me, which is not my denial, but my joining in love, my joining in peace, my joining in happiness. Right? It's a little bridge I cross, and I cross that bridge in every relationship and in every moment within every relationship. Doesn't mean that relationships don't end. It doesn't mean that you're not going to argue, bitch, and cuss all the way along. But at some point, there's an opportunity to stop and go, hang on a minute, let me put my finger on my nose. Because no change can happen in my life unless I am the change that I want to see in the world, which is Mohandas Gandhi. Right? Or Mahatma Gandhi, given his enlightened status. Does that make sense, Barry?
Yeah.
Good. Good. And now it'll bring up, what are those, what are the 5 stages of denial? where you go through denial, anger, acceptance, all these, you know, when someone's diagnosed with a terminally ill disease or something.
Yeah.
The
5 stages of grief. Yeah.
The 5 stages of grief, right? Everyone goes through those stages. As soon as you're called out on something, as soon as you start to see it and you got to put your finger on your nose, it's like you can either process that really quickly and just like give the whole thing and be still and feel it and let it all go, or you can sit there and dwell on it, right? That's your choice. But you don't really have a choice when you can see that you've got to go through it anyway. It's just energy. I'm just looking at an idea in my own mind here. I'm just looking at an idea of, do I want it or don't I want it? Am I going to give up the world or not give up the world? And you're not going to know what the doing of it brings to you as a benefit or anything until you actually do it. You can't put one foot in front of the other until you put that front foot forward first. It's like Lao Tzu. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Bernadette, I love you. More than you probably remember right now, but you will remember. You're on the cusp of it, I can see. You know, when you remember how much you love each other, like when the love of God dawns upon you, you'll just want to tear off all your clothes and run down the street. You will. But there won't be a shedding of the outer garments that's prolific enough for you to be able to enjoy. You'll be like, woo, you want to rip your skin off. But unconditional love. Unconditional love. Unconditional. Look at that in the face of everything else that seems to be bubbling away in your consciousness. I've got unconditional love as an idea, and then I've got everything that seems to conflict with it in my own mind. That's where I need my work to be about in there. I'm going to offer this to the Holy Spirit. I'm going to offer that to the Holy Spirit. Da, 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 da. And if I offer it and I keep seeing it, then it's because I haven't truly offered it. It's just lip service. You got to get down deep. You got to feel it in your heart. When you read these lessons, you got to feel it. When you pray, you got to feel it. Heart and mind have to join together. Heart and mind as one. All up in the head, no good. All heart, no good. Both things together. Mind makes the decision. Heart has the passion. What am I choosing? I'm choosing between love and fear all the time. In this situation, love or fear, acceptance or denial, resistance or wholeness, embracing it. Mm-hmm. Any questions? You good, Bernadette? Do this. Shake it out. Good. Breathe. This process is like, I remember Ted used to say to us, man, if I could do this for you, I would. It's like I wouldn't want to do it again for all the tea in China. And you know what? There's a lot of course groups and a lot of things that you can involve yourself in that just sits so gently on the surface. And if you try to explain to people how to deep dive into their emotional body, how to deep dive into taking responsibility for their pain, they'll, what did you call it, Tina, that word, bypass? Was that the word? Yeah, they'll bypass.
Yeah, spiritual,
right, spiritual bypass. Right, so they'll bypass it spiritually in order to stay on the top and just be in the happy, happy, joy of, you know. But it's like the true place where change occurs is in doing the work, in going deep and looking at your fear. Barry, look at it. Bernadette, look at it. Tina, you did look at it and you're on the outside of it now, so that's good. But it's like you got to look at it. What am I afraid of? What do I think my validation is going to come from? Like you saw it there in a light bulb moment. You went like, oh, and I saw you see it. Right? From there, everything changes. It'll still show up again, perhaps for a little bit at work and whatever, but you'll learn to laugh at it more. You'll learn to laugh it away and laugh the illusion away. And that'll be fun. You'll be like, fuck yeah, there's me again doing that stuff. I see that I'm still buying into that, right? Don't beat yourself up for buying into it, but simply recognize, aha, here's an opportunity, right? I can use this energy that wants to beat me up for it, which is only your ego, for healing, for prayer, right? You have one source of energy. That's the passion of the heart within you. What are you going to use it for is up to you. Make yourself feel shitty because you missed an opportunity for healing, or double down on it and use it for opportunity for healing the next time it shows up. Because it will. You're free. You're perfect. You're whole as God created you. Come from that. The world can't tell me what I am. The voice in my head that seems to blah, 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 it can't tell me what I am. I'm not going to listen to that anymore. I'm done with that. I'm going to train my mind to be still, to be quiet, to be silent. I'm going to go through this whole fucking process of bullshit that drives me crazy and come out the other side. I'm going to make a video. I'll see if I can find my little whiteboard. I had this, like I woke up in the middle of the night with it. I had this incredible moment of, you know, that saying, like the first step into hell and it's a slippery slope. It's just like whoop down the, I had this whole whiteboard moment with that teaching. And I think that's an Old Testament teaching, but you know, any step into hell is a slippery slope or something like that. It goes. But the thing about being in hell is you don't know you're there. That's part of the illusion, part of the trick of being in pain, being in suffering, is you're very good at pretending that you're not. Pretending that it doesn't matter, that you're okay. And learning to identify honestly when that's a lie is very beneficial. It's like, no, I'm all fucked up. I need help. I need a miracle. I'm not okay. I'm okay in my Father's love. I'm okay in the kingdom of heaven. But in this world, every fucking day is the same dog with a different collar. It's just shit and I'm sick of it. You know? And there has to come that admission. There has to be a place where Jesus says, unless you hate the world, you cannot follow me. It's like, no, I hate it. I'm fucking done with it. I'm done with this way of thinking. I'm done with this way of seeing. I want something else. And I'm determined that that's the case. I'm not going to let myself off the hook. It's like teachings from the vault. This is like really. This is really the master's circle. This is where the rubber hits the road, and we choose to join in these Zoom meetings because somewhere we've realized that we need help to hold ourselves accountable to our vigilance. Sometimes we've got to have somebody bloody pointing the obvious out to us because it's so big in front of our face, we don't realize that it's the obvious. We just think it's natural. You can't see the forest for the trees. Don't judge the form, apply the principle. Barry, don't judge the form, apply the principle. You're a child of God. You are a child of God. Try to get a sense of that. Close your eyes for a second. I'm not a Barry with a fake leg. I'm a child of God. And this body, this avatar, this thing that I have the use of, I'm going to damn well use it to its maximum ability whilst I still have the use of it. And the world's not going to tell me otherwise. You've got to get to that point. You've got to get to that place where Jesus says, come with me, and I say yes, regardless of what it is. You've got to stand up and put your pants on the right way around. Ted used to say you got to walk and chew gum. You got to walk and chew gum. You're entitled to this. You're entitled to miracles. Snap out of it. Yes, Fran, good. I saw that. I saw you see that in your mind then. That's perfect. Beautiful. I love it. Sometimes you hear yourself hear things, you know, the penny drops and you go, oh shit, the penny just dropped. Once that penny drops, you can't deny that it's dropped. All right, I love you guys. I think that's it, unless you guys have any more questions or anything. Bernadette, what's going on with you? There's something like, let's have it. Not the fearful thing, nothing.
No, I'm actually had a good week. I've been by myself, so lots of meditation, lots of coursework, and I'm actually having like just some. I really don't know what it is. Just a sense of something like somebody is with me all the time, and I have not felt that before.
Good. No, good. I can tell there's something there.
Yeah.
Like there's a presence there. There's something. You're close to revelation. I swear, you're so close. Like there's something. Yep. A tiny moment of terror, perhaps. Be still and breathe and just go through it. Tina, you're much the same. It's like there's that wall. When you choose not to run away again from the wall, when you choose to stay there, it's like, all right, my joy is going to be up against the wall or in between a rock and a hard place. That's what people say, right? So I'm between a rock and a hard place. You got nowhere else to go. When you stop whinging about that and accept that that's actually a good place to be, then stuff gets real. When you're right in there in the paradox, I seem to exist, but Jesus is telling me I don't exist as this body, as this entity. I exist as God created me as spirit, but not as this. I'm in this paradoxical place where the world isn't real, but I seem to think it's real. I've seen it all disappear. The trees, the houses, the stars, the sun, everything's vanished, the whole lot. Boom, in the twinkling of an eye. I know it's not real. I know what reality is. I remember reality as whole and perfect and eternal. Nothing included or excluded, like the whole thing, one thing, all is one. But that paradox between the one thing and the other thing, that's where I want to be, because that's where honesty is. That's where I can feel stuff. Otherwise, I'm looking at it. I'm back here looking at the paradox. I'm not wedged up tight in it. And, you got to be wedged up tight within it. You got to be right in there. That's when the Holy Spirit will be with you. That's good. Bernadette, stay on the line. I want to have a chat with you. Everyone else, sign out. And I'm going to have a moment just with Bernadette and Tina.